Command the crowd by owning the moment. Funny thing, isn't it? How a room full of restless faces suddenly forgets how to blink the second someone decides they're done being ordinary. People think commanding a crowd is about volume, about shouting, about stomping around like a circus act desperate for attention. But the truth is, it's quieter than that. It starts long before you open your mouth, long before any grand entrance. It begins the moment you choose to walk in, like the room already belongs to you, like every pair of eyes is just waiting for you to give them a reason to wake up. And trust me, they are. They always are, because people crave someone who looks sure of themselves. They crave someone who's not asking for permission to exist. You ever see how they tilt their heads when someone like that shows up? Like animals catching a scent. They feel something shift, something they can't quite name, but they feel it all the same. And that's where your power starts. Right there, in the space between their curiosity and your certainty. You don't demand their attention. You attract it. You don't beg for the spotlight. You walk into it like it's been waiting on you. And once you've got those eyes, once every heartbeat in the room is beating against the walls in the same rhythm, that's when the moment becomes yours to shape. Not by force, not by chaos, but by presence. That strange, unsettling calm you carry when you're not performing for them. You're revealing something they didn't know they needed. The confidence that rattles them, shakes them awake, makes them lean in without even realizing they did. People think controlling a crowd is about dominating them. But no, it's about inviting them into your world and closing the doors behind them. Making them feel something. Tension, curiosity, discomfort, thrill. Doesn't matter what, as long as they feel. Because once they feel, they follow. Suddenly every breath you take becomes a cue, every pause a cliffhanger, every word a fuse burning towards something unpredictable. And that unpredictability, that's the real hook. That's what keeps them locked in. They don't know what you're going to do next. And that makes them yours. Owning the moment means walking in with the kind of energy that says, I'm not here to participate. I'm here to redefine the atmosphere. It means letting the room adjust to you instead of adjusting yourself to the room. It means letting silence work for you, letting stillness feel loud, letting every gesture land with weight, because nothing you do is accidental. Even the smallest movements become signals, and the crowd reads them like scripture. And the thing is, once you hold the moment, once you wrap it around your fingers, the crowd doesn't just watch you. They surrender to you. Their doubts quiet down. Their opinions fade. Their judgments dissolve. They stop thinking and start reacting, and you become the conductor of their emotional orchestra. Their focus is no longer scattered. It's pinned to you like you're the only solid thing in a collapsing world. That's what commanding a crowd truly is. Not shouting above them, but pulling their entire attention into the gravity of your presence until the room isn't a room anymore. It's a stage carved out of their anticipation, lit by the fire in your eyes, powered by the certainty in your stance, and held together by the feeling that whatever happens next, they don't dare miss it. Turn pressure into performance. That delicious moment when the air gets heavy, when every eye sharpens, when every whisper in the room starts betting on your failure. Pressure, most people treat it like a trap, like a weight meant to crush their spine. But you see it for what it really is, a stage that only appears when the world thinks you might crack. Pressure doesn't arrive to break you. It arrives to test whether you're worthy of the moment you've been asking for. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because pressure creates a spotlight. A spotlight you didn't have to chase, didn't have to beg for. It just drops on you, uninvited, like a challenge slipped under the door. And that's when people start watching. They watch closely. They wait for the twitch in your eye, the shake in your voice, the stumble in your step. They hunger for your missteps because it reassures them about their own. But what happens when you refuse to give them that? What happens when the pressure that should have made you crumble makes you sharper instead? Suddenly the watchers become witnesses, and the witnesses become believers. Not because you asked them to, but because you changed the temperature of the whole room. See? Pressure reveals you. Not your polished mask, not your rehearsed lines, you. The raw nerve, the instinct, the spark buried beneath all that polite structure. When the walls start closing in, you discover what you've really got inside. And if you let that side loose, if you stop hiding the fire and start feeding it, pressure becomes the very thing that props you up. It becomes a weapon in your hand, a stage beneath your feet, a rhythm that pushes your pulse into something dangerous, something electric. That's when pressure turns into performance. Not a performance for applause, but a performance of identity. People don't remember perfect moments. They remember the ones that almost collapsed. The ones where everything could have gone wrong. The ones where someone stood at the edge of disaster and smiled. That's why pressure is so intoxicating. It strips away the comfortable choices and forces you to act with clarity you didn't know you possessed. It gives you no room for hesitation, no time for doubts, no space for that timid voice whispering useless nonsense. Under pressure, only the truth remains. And your truth is that you were built for intensity. Turning pressure into performance means welcoming the heat. Letting it squeeze you, challenge you, corner you. Because in that corner, you become unpredictable. You become focused. You become alive in a way calm can never make you. It's in the tightening of the world around you where you tap into the part of yourself that knows exactly what to do. The instincts sharpen. The words hit harder, the presence grows heavier. And the crowd, they can feel it. They feel the shift, the growing tension in the air, the way you seem to move with purpose born from the weight pressing down on you. They feel it and they lean in, because watching someone glow under pressure is a rare spectacle. Most people chase comfort, but comfort softens you, dulls you, lulls you into mediocrity. Pressure, on the other hand, pressure sculpts you. It forces you to step into a version of yourself that only reveals itself when the stakes are high, when failure is hungry, when doubt is circling like a vulture. That version of you, that sharp, fearless, unapologetic version, that's the performer who turns the room into a furnace and still stands tall, smiling like the flames are nothing but warm light against your skin. That's how you turn pressure into performance. Not by avoiding the heat, but by stepping deeper into it, letting it carve out the strongest parts of you, letting it make the moment unforgettable. Because you transformed what should have broken you into the very thing that proved you belong exactly where you're standing. Treat doubt like dust. Brush it off. You know, people like to pretend doubt is this mighty force, some grand shadow lurking over your shoulder. But when you really look at it, really pay attention to what it is, you'll notice it behaves more like those tiny specks you barely see until the light hits them, floating around, settling on you when you stand still too long. Harmless, weightless, laughably small. Doubt only feels heavy because people let it pile up, layer after layer, until they convince themselves they're carrying a mountain. But here's the secret, it was always just dust. Dust you forgot to wipe away. And oh, the world loves to throw it at you. They do it with smirks, with raised eyebrows, with those soft little jabs disguised as advice. They sprinkle it on your shoulders like they're seasoning a meal, hoping you'll absorb it, hoping it sticks. Because doubt isn't really about you. It's about them, their insecurities, their limitations, their fear of someone stepping out of the line they've comfortably accepted. People can't stand it when someone refuses to shrink, so they toss their dust at you hoping it'll cloud your vision. But dust only blinds you if you rub it into your own eyes. Most folks hear doubt and stop. You don't stop. You move. You keep walking, keep breathing, keep stepping forward like the weight never landed. And that's what rattles them. Because nothing makes doubters more nervous than someone who refuses to acknowledge them. Someone who treats their comments like lint on a coat. Something you flick away with a tap of your fingers. The moment they realize their dust can't cling to you, their power dissolves. Their whispers lose volume. Their opinions lose teeth. Doubt only grows when you pause to entertain it. When you tilt your head and say, maybe they're right. That's when the dust settles into corners, creeps into cracks, spreads itself thin until it feels like a film over everything. But when you stay in motion, when you don't let their words slow your stride even for a second, the dust slips right off. Motion is your shield. Certainty is your broom. Presence is your air current. You don't need to fight the doubt. You just stay too alive for it to land. And let's talk about the doubt inside your own head. The voice people pretend is wise, cautious, protective. No, that voice is just the echo of every dusty thing you've ever heard, a collection of old fears pretending to be logic. And when it speaks, you don't argue with it. You don't debate it. You just smile at it, the kind of smile that makes even shadows hesitate. Then you brush it off, not violently, not dramatically casually, as if it never deserved more than a passing gesture. There's a special kind of power in treating doubt like it doesn't matter. Not suppressing it, not fighting it, just recognizing its insignificance. Because when people see that in you, when they see someone who doesn't flinch at criticism, doesn't bend under skepticism, doesn't freeze when confronted with uncertainty, they start seeing you differently. Doubt doesn't stick to fire, and that's what you look like to them. A blaze moving forward with no patience for dust. You walk into a room, and every doubtful thought in their heads gets a little nervous, because it knows it won't survive contact with your presence. Doubt needs stillness to thrive. You bring motion. Doubt needs insecurity. You bring intent. Doubt needs someone to absorb it. You let it bounce right off. That's how you deal with it. You don't treat doubt like an enemy. You don't honor it with fear. You reduce it to what it always was, something tiny, something weightless, something beneath your level. Dust on your jacket, dust in your path, dust in the air swirling around someone who stands too still. But not you, never you. Make confidence louder than criticism. Interesting thing about confidence, isn't it? It doesn't have to shout, doesn't have to roar, doesn't have to claw its way through the noise. It simply exists, steady and unapologetic, like a flame that refuses to flicker no matter how hard the wind pushes. Criticism, on the other hand, that stuff screams. It whines, it echoes, it piles on itself, hoping the sheer volume will convince you it's the truth. But the truth is softer than people think. It's quieter. It sits in your chest, not your ears. And when you let it speak, it drowns out every voice that tried to shrink you. See, critics love to imagine they're powerful. They throw their words like stones, waiting for the crack, the crumble, the flinch. They picture you folding under the weight of their disappointment, their jealousy, their insecurity wrapped in clever little phrases. But confidence, real confidence, it doesn't even bend. It stands there unbothered, watching those stones fall like pebbles tossed at a brick wall. Not because you're invincible, no, but because you've decided their words don't get to shape your spine. Confidence doesn't mean you never hear criticism. Oh, you hear it, loud and clear, but you don't let it direct the show. You let it pass through you like background noise, a faint hum behind the symphony you're conducting. The crowd might hear their voices, they might even momentarily sway with them. But you hold your center. You let your presence speak louder than their complaints, your energy louder than their doubts, your intent louder than their attempts to pull you off course. Most people think they need to fight criticism. Clap back, argue, defend, explain. But that's the trap. The moment you start wrestling with small minds, you shrink yourself to their size. And they love that. They love seeing you come down to their level, straining to justify yourself. But confidence, true confidence, knows better. It doesn't argue. It doesn't plead. It doesn't negotiate with noise. It simply exists in a way that makes every insult feel irrelevant. Imagine walking through a hallway full of whispers. Every whisper tracking you, judging you, trying to stick. Most folks would shrink their shoulders, lower their head, try to slip through unseen. But not you. You walk slower, taller. Like their whispers are nothing but the wind brushing past your coat. Every step you take announces something they can't swallow. You don't need their approval. And that's what silences them faster than any speech ever could. Confidence is dangerous, you know. It threatens the fragile ego of every person who never learned to grow their own. When you radiate certainty, people start questioning themselves. They project their doubts onto you because it's easier than facing their own reflection. And the only way to survive that without getting swallowed by their noise is to make your confidence the loudest thing in the room. Not by shouting it, by living it. You carry yourself like you already earned your place. You speak with the calm of someone who doesn't need to convince anyone. You move with the ease of someone who's not afraid of being seen. And the crowd, well, they adjust. They always adjust. Humans are funny like that. Criticize what they don't understand, then follow it once it proves it can't be shaken. Criticism thrives on reaction. Confidence thrives on intention. As long as you keep your eyes sharp, your voice grounded, your posture steady, their attempts to rattle you turn into static. Background noise in a world where you're the only one holding the mic. And the moment you realize that, truly realize it, something shifts. You stop letting their words land. You stop giving their opinions weight. You stop shrinking to fit their expectations, and instead, you expand in ways they can't control. That's how confidence becomes louder than criticism, not by raising its volume, but by refusing to bow to theirs, by turning your presence into the real message, the real sound, the real force in the room. Let your presence rewrite the room's energy. Funny, isn't it, how a place can feel one way, and then the second you walk in, everything shifts. Not because you demanded it, not because you slammed the door or shouted your arrival. No, the shift happens in the quiet, in the tension, in that invisible ripple that spreads when someone with real presence steps into a space that's gotten a little too comfortable with its own dullness. Rooms get stale, people get predictable, energy gets flat. But you walk in and suddenly the air remembers it can spark. Most people underestimate presence. They think it's about charisma or fancy words or having the loudest laugh in the room. But presence is much simpler and much more unsettling. It's the ability to exist so unapologetically, so intentionally, that the entire room recalibrates around you without you saying a single thing. Presence is gravity. Not the kind that pulls you down, the kind that pulls others in. And the moment that gravity hits, people feel it in their spine. They don't know why they're paying attention. They just are. You've seen it happen. When you enter with that slow, deliberate confidence, conversations falter. Eyes twitch in your direction. Someone laughs a little too loudly to cover the sudden wave of awareness. The room becomes a living organism adjusting to a new center of mass. Not because you forced it, because the energy you carry is stronger than the energy they settled for. Your presence exposes the truth they were all ignoring. The room was waiting for someone to wake it up. Rewriting the room's energy means refusing to blend in. Not by being chaotic, not by being dramatic, but by being so fully yourself that the usual rules stop applying. When you stand tall, people sit differently. When you breathe calmly, when you make eye contact, they forget the script they were following. That's the magic of presence. It disrupts, gently, but undeniably. And once the disruption begins, the whole environment starts bending toward you. There's a certain thrill in that, isn't there? Watching the atmosphere shift, watching people straighten up, watching their expressions sharpen like they've just realized something important is happening. They don't even know what changed, but they feel it. They feel you. Your presence becomes the unspoken headline, the pulse beneath every moment, the new wavelength the room is forced to follow. And whether they admit it or not, they like it. People crave someone who changes the temperature. The trick is, presence isn't about noise. It's about clarity. The clarity that says you're not here to impress. You're not here to chase approval. You're here to exist on your own terms, and the room can either adapt or get left behind. That kind of clarity creates a tension that wakes people up. It makes them pay attention, makes them feel alive, makes them wonder what you might do next. And that wondering, that anticipation, that's the new energy you bring. Every room has a rhythm before you enter. Some chaotic, some sleepy, some cluttered with insecurities and half-baked conversations. But when you show up with presence, real presence, you don't fall into their rhythm, you override it. Your steps become the metronome, your voice becomes the anchor, your expressions, your pauses, your stillness, all of it starts setting the tone. And they adjust almost involuntarily, because people follow whoever makes them feel something stronger than their own hesitation. Letting your presence rewrite the room's energy is about showing up with intention. Not drifting, not hiding, not shrinking. Just existing in a way that forces everything around you to shift. Because when you walk in fully aligned with who you are, fully grounded in your identity, fully aware of your own gravity, the room doesn't get to stay the same. It bends, it tilts, it recalculates every person's role, every dynamic, every unspoken rule. The room becomes yours, not through arrogance, but through inevitability. Convert every challenge into a masterclass. People panic when life throws chaos at them. They freeze, they fold, they crumble like wet paper. But you've got a different relationship with chaos, don't you? When something goes wrong, when the floor shakes, when the cracks start to show, most think that's the moment everything falls apart. But for you, that's the moment everything begins. Challenges aren't curses, they're invitations. Invitations to reveal what you can do when the world thinks you're cornered. A challenge shows up, claws out, teeth bared, expecting you to retreat. And instead, you lean forward.
You study it.
You smirk at it. You let it circle you like some wild animal. Not because you're reckless, but because you're already dissecting its weak spots. You're already seeing the lesson hidden inside it. Most people only see the threat. You see the blueprint. That's the difference. That's what turns your problems into performances. Every challenge is a stage disguised as a problem. A moment where most people would beg to escape. But you step deeper into it because you understand something they don't mastery isn't built in comfort. It's built in fire. And every flame that tries to burn you becomes light you learn to wield. You don't just survive challenges, you use them. You flip them inside out. You take the pieces meant to break you and rearrange them into something that exposes your skill, your sharpness, your evolution. People watch you face a challenge and they expect fear. They expect hesitation. They expect you to stutter or stumble or doubt yourself. But instead, they get a masterclass. They get precision where they expected panic. They get creativity where they expected crisis. They get commitment where they expected collapse. And that throws them off balance. Because most people think strength is loud, dramatic, explosive. But your strength is surgical, controlled, intentional. You respond to chaos like you've been waiting for it. Challenges reveal how different you are. When others break, you bend the situation to your will. When others run, you root yourself deeper into the moment. When others complain, you innovate. You treat difficulty like raw material, something to shape, something to demonstrate your command over. Even your failures, if they dare show up, don't stay failures for long. You twist them, refine them, repurpose them until they become tools in your arsenal. You don't waste anything, not even your setbacks. And the crowd, they notice. They notice when everything starts shaking and you don't. They notice when the tension spikes and you steady your voice. They notice when the moment everyone else fears becomes the moment you sharpen. That's when they lean in. That's when their eyes widen. That's when they realize they're not watching someone struggle. They're watching someone teach. Teach without lecturing. Teach without bragging. Teach through action, composure, strategy. A challenge becomes a masterclass because you don't let it dictate the narrative. You seize it. You flip the perspective. Instead of, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I craft from this? And that single shift gives you an advantage almost no one else possesses. You're not bound by the difficulty. You're fueled by it. You use it to elevate your performance, sharpen your instincts, and show a level of adaptability that leaves people stunned. Every time something threatens you, it ends up revealing you. Not the polished version, not the predictable version, the version that thrives under pressure, the version that sees opportunity in chaos, the version that knows how to turn a mess into a masterpiece. Challenges may come to test you, but you turn them into demonstrations, exhibits. Proof that the moment things get tough is the moment you get interesting. That's why every challenge becomes a masterclass in your hands. Not because the world made it easy, but because you made it yours.